Hello and welcome to Real Estate Today. My name is Ed Cox and my co-host is Maria Babicki. We're both real estate agents here in Simsbury. I'd like to welcome you to the show. We have a show, we will be talking today to an architectural designer. And we kind of thought that this would be an interesting show for several groups of people who are potential real estate clients. The first group of people are homeowners who are considering a move because their home doesn't meet their needs. And they're considering whether or not they should maybe make some changes to the home that they live in instead of making the move because they really like where they live, they like their neighbors, and they're comfortable there. The second group of people might be buyers who have found a home, they love where it is, they love the neighborhood, they love where the home sits on the lot, but there's some things about the interior of the home that are not quite what they want. That might be another reason to talk to an architectural designer. And the third group of people are people like me who are constantly dreaming about changing the interior of their home and didn't know who to ask. So we thought that this show would be maybe a good one to start with. So Maria, would you like to introduce our guest and get the show started?
Yes, I would love to. Our guest today is Bob Sparks. His firm is ADI, Architecturally Designed Interiors. Ed and I had the privilege of meeting with you in your home office, which is amazing, and your work has been featured in Hartford Magazine. Bob Sparks works throughout the state of Connecticut, both locally and in Litchfield and as far as Greenwich. You have a superbly informative website, which you really have to see to appreciate. And we want to welcome you to the show. Thank you for coming here. We're just thrilled you're here.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
I was a sophomore in high school, and my drafting teacher, who became a very good friend of mine, handed me a book, and it changed my life. It was a book about an architect called Royal Barry Wills, who was a very strong architect in Boston in the 30s, and it was more houses for better living, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do at that point in time. So I graduated from Porter in '71, got through school playing 7 nights a week in Hartford because my grandparents didn't have a tuition. So being a working musician for 49 years allowed me to do that, so that's how I got to the point where I was. Worked for Friendly Ice Cream for a short period of time when freestanding buildings were no longer in vogue. They were taking the malls and putting Friendlies in spaces where a mall space had to be. And it was very dry for me, very, very dry, and was not rewarding at all. At that point in time, I knew that I wasn't going to be working for anybody else but myself at that point. And then I opened a cabinet shop. That was pretty successful for 13 years. So I got to understand what it takes to not only design something and have it done correctly and in scale and proportion and historically correct, but to be able to then get away from that. Because I had a friend of mine that said to me, what compels you, I don't know, to have to make something when you can take a blank piece of paper and make it come alive. So when I stopped the cabinet shop in '89, I then became, ADI at that point. And so that's pretty much where everything came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question is, what does an architectural designer, what do you do?
I work in conjunction with a lot of area architects and builders, interior decorators or designers, lighting people, to be able to give the interior or exterior of your house what you need to have done to it. All the specifics that you talked about, the categories of whether they're happy where they are, or they're looking to move, or they're looking to move because they no longer need the 8,400 square foot house. They're empty nesters now. Now they want to downsize, but they still want all the great things that they had in their first house, which is very good. We have the fact of lately been having more and more requests for in-law apartments that have to be integrated into the existing home. And the last thing that you want to do is make it look like it's an in-law apartment above a garage. You always want to be able to make it look like its intention was always supposed to be there, and you would never know that it was there if you had not known the person prior to the mother-in-law or father-in-law or sister, brother, uncle, aunt, whatever was moving in. So that's another point that has been strong lately. People are looking within too. They want to be able to see what they can do, or go out and buy new. You know, that's what you guys are all about.
Yeah. The one thing we noticed on your website, which I thought was very interesting, was we partner with the homeowner every step of the way.
We do. I think it's really, really important for the person who is doing the job for the client to listen. You have to be able to listen to them. And hopefully through that, you will be able to understand what their needs are. Not just cosmetically, but functionally. What is behind the cosmetic that they need to bury with modern technology today and all of the bells and whistles that come with all of that. And hopefully through that process, you can develop a relationship with them so you become a little more friendly and you get to understand their lifestyle. Because at the end of the result, when they put the key in the front door and they walk into that house, their heart has to smile. And that is the key. And it's always listen to the client. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. Just listen to the client.
Great.
Yeah.
Many of us take for granted the characteristics that really make up a home. The moldings, how simple or how extravagant it is. And as I mentioned, when we went to your home to meet with you, both Ed and I felt instantly comfortable, very refreshed. We really liked the environment.
Thank you.
And there wasn't any clutter. And, you know, we would like to know, how come we felt like that? And how can we capture that? Or how can our viewers capture that in their own homes, knowing that some of us have some financial limitations?
It does have a lot to do with budget. You always have to be conscious of budget. What makes me successful? Anal obsessiveness. Probably. You'll find that most people in my trade are, because they are always being asked to look at the detail behind the detail. If you look at the detail, you're doing your job, but we want the client to understand that we're not looking just at this. We're looking, it's almost like a chess game. You're looking at what is coming on behind it. And to be able to put them at ease, make them realize that this isn't this daunting task that they're trying to accomplish. Don't have it intimidate you. Yes, it's going to take some time. Yes, it's going to take some money, but let's have fun. If you're going to spend all this time and money, have fun with it. Because we can put together a team that can give you a pain-free existence. Obviously, we can do that. If there is an interior/decorator designer in place all the time, then we are immediately subservient to them because they've already established a connection with the client. So we're working with them. You never want to work against them because they've already established the relationship with the client. You just want to further the process and help them along and facilitate what they've been working on already for so many weeks or months or what happened. That occurred in a project that we just finished down in Greenwich, which took a year, but the interior designer who I'd worked with before had called me and said, "Do you want to be part of the team?" And I'm going, "Sure." You know, it was great to be able to do that, and that's how you put all your other people together. You know.
Well, on the topic of teams, now you have a team that you like to work with normally, but also if a homeowner has some established relationships with builders or with interior designers, you'll work with those as well, right?
You know what? You don't fix it if it ain't broke,
Right.
really. I mean, if you have a relationship with somebody who is a good builder, a friend who has got a good eye for detail, not necessarily in the business, but just has a good eye for it, then work with those people. You know, it's always great to find new people to work with. It just broadens your availability for work. It's real simple, you know, and work has been hard over the last couple of years, you know, with the state of the economy.
Right. Could we go back a moment to what I just asked you about how you can make the characteristics of a home different by being more simplistic or more extravagant?
Okay.
Can you elaborate on that?
If you have, well, let's start with the demographic of people today, okay? Because when I first started, my clients were my age. Now my clients are my children's age.
Yeah.
Okay, so they want the same house that wraps around you and makes you feel comfortable and insulated and warm and fuzzy, right? But they want to be a little more minimalist. They want to be more current. They want the outside being brought inside, a tremendous amount of reflective light, a lot of incandescent light, lighting within, which brings you to a very important part of the team, a lighting person. And a lot of painted woodwork. That we're getting away from most of the wood looks, unless there's a library, office, or bar setup. That's usually it, but probably 85% of the house is painted. And you can, depending on the budget and the size of the house and the pedigree of the client, and I don't say that in a bad way as far as pedigree, it's a matter of what your budget is. You can do most of this with things that are already stock out there, whether it be moldings, whether it be cabinets. And to find a cabinet maker who can do an as-built, which is custom, or owns a box line as well, you have the best of both worlds. And then if your cabinets don't go all the way to the ceiling, we can make it work so it does. So it all looks like it's flowing. The best way to make a room embrace you is to have something put your eye into the corner of the room. If you're in a blank white room, white ceilings, wooden floor, there's nothing going on. You feel like you're inside your closet or in a hospital room or something. If you put a detail that allows your eye to go into the corner of that room, it gives you more of a perspective of what's going on. If built-ins are in the room, in part of the plan, if they go from wall to wall and ceiling to floor, even though it takes up physical square footage in the room, it makes the room look bigger. People never believe me when I say that, okay? Because well, how you're putting cabinets in the room, how is it getting bigger? Well, visually it is. You know, it's not smoke and mirrors, but it is a visual application. And again, paying attention always, always, always to scale and proportion. And if it's an existing house, pay attention to the existing lines of the house. If the house is great and you have this one room that has nothing going on, pull from the house. It's the same way with renovation. If you're renovating a house, pay close attention to the existing lines, unless they're tearing it down. Our house is the same. It's a good example. We'll have two laws standing and through the whole thing. But you can see that on the website.
Yeah. So when we're talking about these things, how do you get started? How would
You find somebody like me, you know, and the website is a truly marvelous thing because it does explain everything to you without even giving me a phone call. You can read the entire thing and get a feeling for what we do and how important the client is to us. And from that, they just simply give us a phone call and we go. Now, I'm not the only guy out there that does it, but I'd like to think that I'm one of the guys who does it really, really well. Again, looking at the detail behind the detail is the key to it all. And from there, you develop a conversation with the client. Again, it's just listening. Listen to the client. It took me a long time to figure that out. But as soon as I did, I held with it. Because, you know, when you first start out, you think you know it all. And you really don't. Okay? So listening to the client is the best thing. It really is. It makes it so much better journey for everybody. It really does.
Well, I could use myself as an example. I don't know what I want. I walk into your house and I want your living room. I want your kitchen. I want your garage.
My garage.
But I mean, for the people who know they need a change, but they don't know, would you be able to recommend changes?
Absolutely. That's what we're all about. You know, if they give us a call, and we always tell them the first consultation is for free because we don't know what we're getting into, and they don't know what they're getting into, and I need to know what they want to get into. So from that first conversation, and it could take 15 minutes or it could take 5 hours, it really doesn't matter. It's listening to the client and finding out what they want. And if they get excited about the situation, or you can show them certain ways that it can be a better day, then you go back and make a proposal and give them a call back and say, here you go. But paying attention in the first visit always to say, is there a budget in place? Because they're going to tell you if there's an interior designer already in place to go from, because they're usually the ones that give me the call, not the client. Do that. So.
But you do all sorts of work, right? From breezeways to a whole
Yeah, we'll do
remodel,
anything.
right?
Yes, we'll design you an entirely new house. We'll remodel your existing house. We will, with the help of you guys, find a house. Then we will work in conjunction with the real estate people and make it work from there. But no, there's nothing too big or too small. We just did a very modest breezeway garage addition for one of the local contractors right in Granby, who called me and said, do you want to do this? And I said, sure. And go over and meet the client and say, how's this number sound to you? And they say, it's fine. And we proceed along. Or you can spend a year in Greenwich, doing a complete renovation. Or, most complete renovations, you have to be prepared to know that you're going to move out of your house.
Right.
Bag and baggage and your animals and all that other kind of stuff. And it's probably going to take, depending on the scale of it, worst case scenario, 18 months, if it's a real massive renovation that they're dealing with. Or it could be something where they could still live in the house because you're doing just a small portion of that house. The rest of it can be cloistered off and you're protected by it. So it depends on what you want to deal with. But we hold their hand. Or we inform them. That's the best way of saying it. We just keep them informed. Don't have them flip out about things. So, oh my God, this is, And here's the other thing. We're putting lines on paper and ideas in people's heads of what they can do. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. When you actually see it, you go, oh, what the hell was I thinking? Was I wrong or were they wrong? Well, we could always change it as you go along with what's happening. So it's something that's always able to be fixed. Anything can be done if you're willing to spend the amount of money to have it done. Sometimes the amount of money is just so ridiculous that you just say, look, you ought to rethink it and not do this. And sometimes they go, this is what I want, do it. So we say, okay, fine. But again, listening to the people.
You mentioned built-ins earlier. Now, built-ins are a really neat idea because
They
you
are.
can get rid of all that freestanding furniture.
Yes, it is. And again, when we renovated our home, the home was built in 1981. And it was totally and completely remodeled. We didn't change the footprint. We just changed the direction of the gable of the garage and added on my office. And I didn't want it to look like a new house. So we were able to achieve that by how it was designed and who the builder was that I worked with that was willing to listen to me and do all the stuff that was necessary. And I forgot your question. What your original question was.
No, I think it's a neat idea because you don't
Oh,
have
built-ins,
freestanding.
built-ins, yes. We did a lot of built-ins
Yeah.
because that is what most people call me for.
Yeah.
It's libraries and built-ins and credenzas and china cabinets and kitchens and all this other kind of stuff. It is an architectural part of the house. It's really not a piece of furniture. It's an architectural detail of the house that serves as a function for storage, basically. Whether it be a library, whether it be, and we could go, we used to do houses that were really huge that always had separate butler's pantries. Now we're finding that if we're doing a renovation within a house and we don't have the room for a butler's pantry, but we do have the room for a sideboard or a credenza or a full standing built-in that houses all your china, crystal, silver, linenware, it disappears into the room. And then you are able to go ahead and put your freestanding furniture in, and it works pretty well. And it's usually been all painted because painting, it's been amazing with the decorators and designers that I work with, what they can do with paint and paper and wall treatments and floor treatments, because sometimes we'll be halfway through the project and we'll see these color samples, we're going, how's that going to work? And then you see the end result, we go, my God, how did he know that?
Yeah.
You know, so there's some very, very talented people out there that I've had the great privilege of working with, you know.
Well, speaking of that, what are the trends you're seeing? Because you're going into some really great homes.
The trends, like I said before, of the newer client is less is more, bringing the outside inside, a lot of reflective light, still having the detail, but a little more of a square edge detail. There's a fabulous architect in Farmington. His name is Jack Kemper, and we do a lot of work for Jack. And Jack has seemed to been able to reinvent himself in all the years that I've known him. And he has been able to find a way that has led all the rest of us to understand what the current client really likes. And I think it's because it was Jack's style from the beginning. He wasn't colonial, he wasn't Frank Lloyd Wright, he wasn't Royal Barry Wills, he was just Jack Kemper. And he's the guy who has his finger on the pulse of what goes on today.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned reflective light. What is it? And why do we want it?
Oh, you want it because we live in New England, okay, where it could snow 3 days in a row, it could rain 4 days in a row, it could have sunlight, not a lot of time. Sometimes you could be a quarter mile off the road, around trees and everything, and to have reflective light is a wonderful thing. I can remember when we had the big blow back in October and we lost power for 7 days. I was still able to design an entire kitchen for a client in Granby because I had so much reflective light in my office simply by the fact of how many windows and dormers were in there, being that it was a vaulted ceiling and all that other kind of stuff. So it does, you know, there's a benefit to it. It's just a good thing. That's probably all I can say. It's just a real good thing.
So is reflective light natural light?
Yes.
So is it bigger windows? Or?
There could be a whole wall of windows, or we could have a renovation or a new house where the back of the house is as interesting as the front of the house because it has these wings that are coming off the back of it. And each wall of a wing is just all glass. And it's usually stationary French door type of style with two doors that open out into the terrace. And that gives you the whole, you know, that panoramic view of the outside while you are inside.
Right, okay.
And then you can see the weather coming in, you know, and you can sit there in front of the fireplace and watch the snow come down if you have windows on the same side up high where the fireplace is. And the outside lights are on, and it's, you know, it's kind of like in a, you know, shake-up globe that they have. You know, you're just sitting there in a fairy tale land type of thing. So reflective light is also hidden light that is mechanically run. So
Okay,
you have,
that was a question I had.
Yes,
Could
that
you
was
create the
we can
illusion
create
of it?
the inside. We can do
Okay.
that with lit soffits, coffered ceilings, tray ceilings, internal lights within the cabinets that have glass doors on them, whether it's a waterfall type of glass or it's a clear glass or whatever. But there's a lot of interesting things that can be done with lights today. We had a client in Canton who had a stairwell within a turret, and the handrail was all custom made by West Hartford Stair. And underneath the stairwell, there was LED lights in the bottom of the stairwell. So all you have to do is turn on these lights, not the lights in the hallway or in the turret, but just in the handrail, and the whole perimeter was lit, and it was very, very cool. So there isn't anything that can't be done if you have the imagination, and there's wonderful people out there that can be your lighting consultants.
Okay. Is an architectural designer for everyone? Like, say someone has an idea, you know, they want box cabinets, they want like something from IKEA. How does that work with someone like you?
If you're going to the local outlets, they usually have a designer in place that they have on staff because they're there specifically to sell their quality of product. And they could have one from the cheapest to the most primo glamourine type of one. So you really don't need to seek somebody out, such as myself. You don't need to spend your money twice. If I meet with you as the client, and this is the direction they're taking, and this is the budget that they have, and I feel that they're better served going to the outlet stores, then I'll point them in that direction. use your money in the best way possible. When people have to make a decision as far as budgets are concerned, spend your money where you can see it, from a cosmetic standpoint, Unless
So
the
where
builder
can we
goes,
see
no,
it?
you can't.
Where are the most obvious areas that we could see?
Well, in any house, you have a public space and a private space. So depending on how much entertaining you do, it could be, I struggled for months if I wanted to spend the money to do a raised panel wainscoting throughout the public part of the house. This was floor to ceiling, clear foyer, the whole thing. And I decided to go with it. And then in the private space where it was more utilitarian, it was a flat panel type of panel door. So there's different options to be able to use. But back to your original question, if they find that this is what they want to do and they're on a limited budget and there's a designer already in place that is going to give this service to you free of charge because they're selling the cabinets, then go there.
Okay.
Yeah, go there.
If I've noticed people asking you specific wants for kitchens, is stainless still what people are asking for?
Some people love it, some people hate it. We did this very true to form Williamsburg restoration for our own home, but we use stainless steel appliances in the kitchen. And you can see that if you go through the website. There's a part in the website where it's a before and after, and it's kind of like an electronic flip book. And you can see the before picture and the after picture.
That was my favorite part of the website.
Yeah, it worked out. Carol Latter did that for us. She used to be the editor for Hartford Magazine. She became a very dear friend of ours. And she did a fabulous job on that because she was able to take my drawings and put them on one page and showing the clients what my process is going through and the details and all of that, and then putting the end result product on the other page.
Yeah.
And it was fine. And I know she struggled with that, so I thank her for that greatly, Carol.
Yeah, we both thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. I was again back in the kitchens and using your kitchen. You have some open cabinets, and then you have some.
We do. We have some it's always nice to be able to take a cabinet that goes from ceiling to countertop and engages the countertop instead of having this mundane type of look all the way across. We were fortunate that we had a step already built into the kitchen. So we had an area where you could have a 42-inch height, a 36-inch height, a 38-inch height, and with a found piece for a center island at a 34-inch height. So when stuff is going on and cooking is happening, you have all of these different options to have. It's, again, listening to the client, see what they want.
Okay.
Do that.
Well, we have so many more questions for you, but we knew this was just the beginning of a conversation
Sure.
with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, be happy to.
Which I failed to mention at the beginning.
Yeah, sure is. It's all about the team. It's all about listening to the client, scale and proportion, putting a good team together, having the client not worry, and have them really feel that you have their best interests at heart, and they know that they're not having any sleepless nights. Everything has been taken care of. We've thought about it for them, and there isn't any question that's stupid.
Yeah.
There's never a stupid question.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate your
I appreciate you having me
enthusiasm
on.
and your passion for the topic.
Yeah, you have to have passion in what you do. I would never retire unless I all of a sudden started drooling on my clients. I wouldn't. I'd keep going until I'm done. With my life.
Well, it comes across in everything you do.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Thank
You're very
you so
kind,
much
both
for
of you.
joining us today.
Yes. Yeah.
And thank you everyone for joining us for Real Estate Today.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.